bow our heads in an attitude of prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for giving us the opportunity to be leaders in the county. We thank you for creating us. No matter what, where, or what we find ourselves involved with, may our hearts, our words, and our actions glorify you always. Amen.
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 Thanks, Doug.
Thank you, Doug.
Okay, we're gonna start with the minutes from the January 27th meeting. Hopefully, everybody had an opportunity to look at those. And we had a couple
One
of,
minor change.
cleanups, but other than that, anybody have anything else you want to address there? If not, we're looking for a motion.
I'm good, Stan.
Motion to approve is amended.
I'll second the motion.
Motion by Stan, seconded by Doug. Minutes are approved. On to your report, Tony.
Okay. Try to go down in order here. Once again, we have the Allied Weekly Health Insurance claims. And we are still in a carry forward credit. The medical would have been 24,388.46, but since we had a credit, we still have a credit of 38,890.64.
Move we accept the Allied. It's easy to make that motion when we
Yep.
got our credit.
Yep.
Yeah. Second.
Motion by Doug, seconded by Stan. The Allied, bill with the credit is approved.
Just let you know there's credits.
Good. Just keep working off that credit. Works for
Yeah.
me.
Now we have if you remember, we have prescription, which is Northwind now. So the Northwind weekly prescription insurance claims is in the amount of $6,189.67. $6,189.67, and I verified those claims.
Same problem with the prescriptions with Northwind, Stan.
No, motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Stan, seconded by Doug. Northwind bill is approved.
Okay. Then we have the payroll AP claims, which are all of the benefits, and this is for the month of January. The benefits above and beyond the payroll amount, which is in the amount of $545,583.62, $545,583.62.
Move we accept payroll.
Second.
Payroll AP claim.
Use the payroll AP claim. Motion by Doug, seconded by Stan. That motion's approved.
Okay. We have the accounts payable claims, which you should have received via email. And those accounts payable claims are in the amount of $703,359.26. There were a couple of questions that Doug had that I think I answered for him. I'm trying to think what some of the big ones were. There was a big IT, there was a bridge and highway and quality correctional care for the sheriff and so forth. Some high dollar amounts.
That claim for Data Pit Stop, is that a subscription?
That's an annual prescription. Yes,
Cause I know you use that quite a bit.
yeah, that's an annual prescription. As a matter of fact, in April, when you have the department head meeting, he will be here, and we're going to start doing our capital assets in there because that's part of the $6,000 that we pay. And we will not be paying John Peterson after that. We'll be paying for a service that we're already using to do our capital assets.
And then the other one, with all the cybersecurity, for innovative integration and Perry Protect, is that a service fee? Like, let's see.
The Perry Protect, there are a lot of small ones on there, and that's because he bills out to all of the departments a usage fee.
Gotcha.
The innovative integration, I think that was one of the higher bills in there. And I honestly, Mike would probably have to tell you what that's for, but that very well could be an annual maintenance fee for that. What was the amount of that one?
Well, there's multiple ones for innovative. 37,000.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Yeah, 23,000.
He uses them for quite a few things.
And then there's some of the cybersecurity that went to JP Morgan Chase, so he must put.
That's
those
stuff that he's putting on the credit card,
on the credit cards, yeah.
which is a discussion.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I didn't have any disputes or anything, just curious.
I move that we accept the claims and pay as necessary.
I'll second that.
Motion made, seconded to pay the claims. Motion passes.
Okay, I passed out to you prior to the meeting, the county treasurer's monthly report submitted by Treasurer Ed Dyer, if you would like to enter that into the record. So moved.
Second.
Motion by Stan, seconded by Doug. The treasurer's report's accepted.
And Shelley Bright, the clerk, had also submitted her monthly report, which I had sent via email. I send those via email just because it's this many pages.
Move that we accept the clerk's monthly.
Second.
By Doug, seconded by Stan. Accepted the clerk's monthly report.
That is really all that I have until maybe when Megan is here. Which Steve, I think we discussed with you a little bit, maybe on the phone as to
Right.
what she's gonna be
What we
doing.
need to do with,
Yeah, yeah, so when she's here, I'll probably speak to some of that.
Okay.
Whenever we get up
Very
there.
good. Very good.
Megan, yeah. Do you wanna, well, we'll do that in your time.
We'll do that. Nate, come on up.
Amy, folks.
I need to get this out here. Here, stick your microphone.
All right.
That was,
Stick it in the holder and then turn it on if you would, please.
That is not a karaoke mic.
No, no song and dance.
this is what.
It'll just clip in there if you kind of pull it back and shove it in.
Branded that.
Maybe. Maybe. I'll see.
I see it's on. Yep, I believe we're on.
Okay,
We're designing my own.
we'll see if it falls out. All right, couple of updates for you. Ish Excavating started on a culvert replacement project yesterday. Hopefully today, maybe worst case tomorrow, the ground froze in there. It was slow going yesterday for that work. It's a small culvert on 600 east between 450 and 550 north. It's a gravel road project.
Wonder how deep the ground is from right now.
At least 12 to 18 inches in the roadway. So they got a hammer on that, trying to peck away at it as if it were a foot thick concrete slab.
Wow.
So the laborers weren't too excited about doing it, but.
It's not too bad today.
Yeah, no, the cab's heated inside that backhoe that he's working from, so he was all right. The next item here, just a NDOT countywide bridge inspection. I had a quarterly report meeting with NDOT this morning, actually, just kind of going through status of projects. I'm gonna be sending a request for some federal funding and closing out our last contract with Aegis BLM. That's the 22 through 25 inspection work, so that should be closing out here shortly. I need to do one more voucher once claims are processed, so I've got another like $2,000 claim that I need to get a reimbursement from. And then lastly, I don't know, Doug, if you were here when I talked about this before, but way back in 2024, I'd started the process of discussing the local road safety plan for the county roads. This started off and actually kicked off one of the safety grants we got, which was the guardrail funding, that $2.6 million grant we received for the guardrail improvements across about 50 bridges in the county. We're looking at other improvements. I'm looking at doing more guardrail safety improvements on other bridges as well. The local road safety plan is just kind of a review of the types of crashes and the types of accidents that we see in the county to establish kind of countywide improvements we can do. Not targeting at specific projects necessarily, but to talk about what is the approach that we're going to try to take. Not just from the construction type of materials, but sort of projects we can do, enforcement, working with the sheriff, to kind of set a mindset of safety. And it provides some information so that when the public says my road's not safe, well, let's look at what data we've collected over the years to try to validate that assertion. And I've got some of the information for you, the table that we gave to the media as well. Let's just excerpt from that report. It goes through the crash types, all the reported crashes that are in the Erie system that the sheriff's department uses between 2019 through 2023. I know I get accused of, well, you don't have this crash, or what about that crash? I don't know every specific crash or the names of the individuals involved, but this is the data that I have to work from when laying out and doing my planning for the county roads and bridges. What you see here, just kind of the big high points, obviously because of the guardrail improvements, the Randolph Road crashes as a percent of the 772 crashes in that window, about 35, just a little under 35.5% of those crashes are just Randolph Road. Only a single car running off the road. That led to 34 fatalities or incapacitating injury crashes. That's a big percentage of the injury crashes. That's 45% of the injuries and fatalities came from just those sort of crash types. When we talk about intersections and speeds, and road widths and right of way, as we talk about right of way improvements and other projects, one of the few measures you have with construction is either make the roads wider, make the right of way and clear zone bigger. Moving obstructions back, the way to do that is to secure the right of way for that. So you can see, at least I'm kind of hitting on a few things of this topic. I'm not ready for you to take any action on it. I want to bring it back up. I know previously I had started this earlier, but Doug, with you on, I want to make sure that you were aware of that was out there. It's something I would recommend. I get asked regularly by consultants and even grant writers saying, hey, there's a grant to prepare this. Well, honestly, we don't need a grant to prepare it because we've done it for nearly free ourselves. Between NERC's work and myself, Brad and Paul working on this, the sheriff's office, there's no reason that we can't prepare a plan that gives us the steps to try to move forward. And I hope gives you the information to make some educated decisions on which projects you want to move forward on. So with that, I don't know if you have any questions. If you want more information, Doug, I can send you some of this.
Appreciate bringing me up to speed on that.
This is somewhat out of date because we're talking about 24 and we're already in 2026 now, but the crash date is always kind of about 12 to 18 months behind. So you wouldn't be wrong in moving forward with this older data because my intent is annually to update this with whatever data we get. So once I get new data, we'll insert the new data, update kind of the heat maps of where the crashes are, and then make those sort of improvements. So with that, any questions for me?
Not related to the safety plan, but I was just looking at the legislative updates,
Okay.
and one kind of stuck out to me. It was Senate Bill 179. And it indicates that there's going to be 75 million available for counties that did not receive the CCMG projects.
Okay.
Okay, tell me what the CCMG project and if we already use some.
We did receive funds. When they did their most recent call for this fiscal year, we submitted 2 projects. We were awarded one of those 2 projects.
Okay.
Many of the other communities, Bern, Monroe, I don't believe Decatur submitted, but no one else in the county received any CCMG funds. I believe Bluffton and Wells County received funds, but I don't think Wells County itself received any funds. So there was a lot of pushback when NDOT and the state legislatures put a cap, $100 million cap on their disbursement. So I think right now there's been a lot of outcry about how they've had this program. Now they've cut it back. Now they're kind of going back to the middle a little bit. And part of moving that back to the middle is to try to create a special disbursement of that 75 million.
Community crossing.
And that's CCMG is
Yeah,
again,
yeah,
community crossings.
I had to
matching
think
rate
about
terms.
what the CCMG,
Yep.
but anyhow, the thing of it is, it's not law yet. But for those communities that did not apply, here's another chance. So
There's another
maybe
chance,
Decatur,
another bite
Bern,
at the
Geneva,
apple.
hope they're paying
Absolutely.
attention.
Yep. Since we received funds, I'm not gonna hold out much hope that they're gonna let
No,
us
it
try to
doesn't
take
sound
another
like
bite
it.
at the apples. I don't think Monroe or Bern would be too happy if we took another $500,000 out of the table.
Well, they don't.
When they have projects themselves, but, no, well, we've been fortunate and we'll keep our eyes on that as well. Thank you.
Yeah.
If you hear anything else about it, let myself, Brad, or Paul know.
Right, well, maybe down the pike somewhere, if they go ahead and pass this and there's some left over,
Yep.
jump in.
We've got opportunities and needs out there, and if the other communities have got projects they want to work collaboratively on, we might be able to try to help them out to try to make sure they've got good applications ready. So,
Okay,
all right.
thanks, Nate.
Yep, thank you.
Nate.
Back to the crash data, just real quick.
Yep.
You know, some of the only reason I can see to update crash data is as you make improvements, like with our safety plan, which I see Tanisha's here. She helped you with that plan as far as preparing for the grant and stuff, so I appreciate that. But you know, you made some bridge improvements, you made some road improvements, so I guess those are the only things that I would see, you know, as we move ahead through the years, looking at statistics, whether the things we're doing with our roads and bridges help make things safer.
Yeah, and you're not gonna see quick improvements and you might do it, you might do a safety improvement and then. And you might actually have more crashes after you've done something that would technically improve the safety of an area, just because you've changed things. One thing that I'll point out again here is just like ran off road crashes. You've got 34 in a four, well, technically that's a 5-year period. You have 34 incapacitating accidents or fatalities that were ran off roads. That's almost half the serious crashes in the county in that 5-year window were just ran off road. Now, you may then say, well, then what we need to do is if there's trees or other permanent obstructions in the existing right of way, we need to start removing those. That doesn't mean that that number is going to necessarily go down, but it's no different than the sheriff ticketing people for not wearing their seatbelt. You know, that seatbelt today might not have saved their life, but eventually over time, which one of those crashes would not have necessarily happened if we could clear these things out? And part of your permitting process for people doing work in the right of way is specifically targeted at that safety aspect.
Yeah,
You
if we
know,
could,
as I look at that, sorry to interrupt, Doug, I'm sorry.
well, I don't, well, go ahead, Sam.
But I would look at, you know, say ran off the road, you know, what, was the road too uneven? Was the road too narrow? Were there no lines on the road? Was it weather conditions? You know, those are things, I mean, the weather conditions we can't do anything about, but the other things are things that we could do something about. So, you know, in those accidents, you know, if we take a closer look at those and say, if we repave the road, if we widen the road, if we put lines on the road, are those things that are gonna help prevent ran off road
Yep.
accidents?
Well, those are the sort of things that your annual meeting talking about this data is where that's gonna become more valuable. And so what I don't have here is the actual crash tree that goes through that.
Yeah.
And so one of the larger spreadsheets that's in that report is every crash is listed. And as you go down that matrix, you're looking at, okay, is it this type of crash or that type of crash? Was the road wet, dry, daylight, night? So all of those different factors that go into it. And what's surprising is you might have a certain amount of crashes in one group or the other, and it doesn't follow what necessarily you would expect.
Yeah, and I'd like to add to Stan's list, out of the crashes that you mentioned, what, 34 or something?
Yep.
Okay, how many of those 34, if we knew, we'll never know, had to do with falling asleep, cell phone use, texting, you know?
Yeah.
And those are the uncontrollables that Stan was talking about too.
Yep. And there is something to be said, and it's not to put this back on the victims of these crashes, but there is something to be said of the road conditions themselves. We talk about speed as the major factor. It reduces your reaction times. We can try to make the road as big and wide and safe as possible, but my experience has been is as you get roads that are really, really nice and wide and open, the natural reaction of the driver is to drive faster.
Yeah,
Because you've made the road feel safer at a higher rate of speed, the drivers will drive faster. And then you start to have other accidents to start to happen. There's an intersection that I experienced over in Bowles County, and it was so frustrating because there's no justifiable reason for the geometry aspect of it. It was a slight angle, but the road was very wide with very wide shoulders as a former state road, but they constantly had accidents there. And the only thing that we could come up with when we did reviews of the types of accidents was because the road was so wide, the drivers on it were driving much faster. And so when you cross the road, your perceived amount of time, what was the safe distance across the road, because the road was wider and their speed was faster, they would come up on you much faster, and your 3 seconds to cross the road wasn't enough.
yeah.
And you needed, if they were there on you in 2.5 versus 3, you needed 4 seconds. And it's that little bits of changes that make it much closer. So I just want to make sure that we don't let this kind of die,
Right.
because I don't want to spend a bunch of money creating something that we can do internally. And I think it will help you make some decisions. And when you get calls and complaints about things, you'll have this in your back pocket to actually look at and make notes, and then we can review those sort of comments at least annually and get that.
I know it's really interesting to me when I try to look at your dot map of where crashes take place, trying to find clusters of this appears to be a problem, is, and so I think this is really helpful when we begin to think about road improvements and where those road resources have got to be spent. This kind of data, I think, will really help us. For instance, when I look at Pickway Road north of Decatur before it intersects with 27 there's a pretty good cluster of accidents that have taken place there.
Mhm.
What do we need to do is there something we need to do to look at that? When I look at 500 North, heading west out of Decatur, another kind of cluster, and I know 500 North, I think it's got that jog there that I think catches a lot of people by surprise that probably is right there. I'm not exactly sure where it's at, but it would surprise me if it's where those two dots are on top of each other at that jog in the road. Those are just things that, it's always been there. Does it always have to be there? I don't know, but when we're thinking about how we fix things, really influences, in my mind, needs to influence where we spend those resources at.
And there are grant opportunities that are specifically targeted at safety. Now, they look at certain data, and we can get kind of in a trap looking at our crash data and what's very personal to us.
Right.
Our bad intersections are not statewide bad intersections.
Sure.
And we gotta realize that, and I try to make the argument, hey, we're gonna do our best to try to fight for safety improvements on our roads. I don't want anybody to get hurt on a road because of a perceived issue or a real issue. I think obviously the biggest factor for something like this is driver education, is to make sure that people respect the conditions of the road. Bad geometry doesn't make it crash. In fact, honestly, sometimes if everybody respects the road conditions and where they're at, you've got a safer situation. So.
Okay, one quick comment, has nothing to do with Adams County, but you mentioned Wells County.
All right.
I hope Adams County don't fall into this category. I am aware of an intersection in Wells County, where it's a three-way stop.
Yes. I know
And then we
exactly
don't have to
where you're at.
discuss it, but
No.
I just hope we don't have any three-way stops in Adams County.
Yep. And I know exactly how I propose to fix that three-way stop too. So, but, yep.
Okay,
Very
I know
good.
where you're at.
thanks.
Thanks, Nate.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, Nate.
Paul, I assume Brad is still,
He's on the beach somewhere.
on the beach somewhere. Got bummed.
He'll be back when the sun starts shining.
He didn't invite you along?
No, somebody's gotta stay back and get to work.
Right.
So,
It's not as though you have anything to do with it.
No. Playing cards, sitting around. you know.
Yeah.
First thing for you today, we got our monthly draw in, last week, so I brought that in this morning, so. We'll just start on the MVH side, $298,989.89. $298,989.89.
Yeah.
MVH.
11 grand more than we had last year.
Right. We'll flip it over here. We got our local road and street draw. It's $49,928.32. Or 46,000,
Yeah,
sorry,
I'd say,
$46,928.32.
My glasses were off.
Yeah, I was, my focus working here.
I move we approve both local road and street and MVH as reported by Paul.
Okay, that motion passes. Thanks, Paul.
Yeah.
What else have you got for us?
Just a couple other things, just to let you know that our oil bids are going out this afternoon so we'll take bids on our oil that we use for chip seal. So all of our vendors will get those this afternoon. A couple other things, just for the media and snow plowing a little bit. A lot of things that we've seen this time around is when people plow their driveways, they leave their snow piles out in the road instead of pushing them on across into the side ditch or whatever, which causes a lot of hazard for people that are driving the road and also our drivers that are trying to get rid of that snow, because now they're going along and all of a sudden it wants to throw them across the road, and, you know, try to get those pushed back. But it'd be helpful if those that are pushing the snow out of the driveway would take it on into the ditch if they're gonna take it across the road. So,
Or into the neighbor's driveway.
or into the neighbor's driveway, you know, where, as long as it's not in the middle of the road would be helpful, because a lot of times they're actually leaving it in the middle of the lane, to where if
Really?
you were driving down that lane, you have to swerve out around their pile of snow. So that, I mean, and it seemed really bad this time, and maybe it's because the snow is extra deep, I don't know, but it was a lot of hassle for drivers and for. our
You would think there would be something from a legal standpoint we could do from somebody that creates an obstruction in a road.
Well, I would think that if someone hit that snow pile and had an accident, that the person
Absolutely.
that put it there would be
Yeah.
liable.
Yeah.
But
I read today that Fort Wayne, if you don't have your sidewalks cleared of ice and snow by 9 a.m., you're eligible for a fine up to $2,500.
Jeez,
That
that'll be a lot of
is that that
fines.
extreme?
I read it, I saw that on the news today. I'm
But I
like,
get it.
wow.
All we want is people not to block our roads.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's,
Yeah.
whatever.
Good luck, Grandma, get out there and shovel.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sure.
One other thing, and I've thanked all of our crew, for the hard work that we had last week, but I just want to do that publicly. We couldn't have done it without all of our crew members down there. Most of us had close to 80 hours last week trying to keep ahead of the snow, and especially the office ladies, as they took the heat from the public that was calling and complaining and such during that snowstorm. So I just wanted to publicly thank all of them for their hard work. We couldn't have done it without any of those individuals, and I wouldn't trade my team for anybody.
Yeah.
As I tried to relate to you, the compliments that I've got have been many from the work and the condition that the roads were in. You know, we can't get every road immediately, but the roads that I drove and the folks that I heard from, very complimentary of the work that your team did.
We tried and we were able to get back out there. The wind died down on, what was that, Tuesday night? I think we went on that fire run for the Bern and Geneva Fire Department, and the snow was literally as deep as this table when we got to that road. So
Yeah.
I don't think we held up the fire trucks at all.
Right.
They got out pretty quick.
So a
So
lot of appreciation, I know, from the hospital board and the hospital administration for getting those trucks out there and setting them out there in front of their EMSs and at our fire stations. So good work.
Yeah, and not only what you said about your staff, but let's throw Megan and the sheriff's department in on that cooperation. It was a three-way cooperation, and that's greatly appreciated by all.
Well, it's kind of scary when you see a picture in the paper of one of your trucks and the only thing you can see is the wheels and the belly blade.
and you know,
So
the
anybody
miracle-
injured or hurt or how? did-
No, I mean, he got beat up just a little bit, but nothing major. And the miracle of that is they stood the truck back up and we drove back to the shop. It's back in
Wow.
service. It took a couple lights out and folded the mirror in, but didn't even bust the mirror glass.
Really?
And the driver wasn't hurt other than just getting beat up a little bit from jerking around, but
Sure.
it was, we were definitely protected over 3
Yeah.
years.
Good.
Slow
Good deal.
motion roll.
Well, that emphasizes that driving a snowplow is a dangerous job.
Well, and we actually took Aaron McClure, the new superintendent at Adams Central. He got to ride along when he got the position. I asked him to ride with one of our drivers. So when he's making a 2-hour delay or 3-hour delay or cancellation due to snow, that he could make an educated decision on what we were going through. So he knew what to expect. And he rode with one of our drivers for about an hour, and we got out. He said, "Thank you for what you do."
Well,
It's an eye opener. You don't really realize that, you know, sometimes you'll go down a road and you might drive for a mile and never see anything but snow on your windshield.
yeah, a couple years ago, when you and Brad and I met with the superintendent from Adams Central, and one of the things that always stuck with my mind is he said at that time, and I don't know if it's still the case, the average age of his bus drivers was 68. So when he opens for school, that's who he's putting on the roads is the bus drivers and 16-year-olds who had never driven in winter before.
Right.
And so he always erred on the side of caution.
Right. And I
To
don't
close
disagree
schools.
with that. You know, we don't get winters with deep snow very quickly. So, I mean, there's a whole generation out there that's never really had to deal with deep snow that are driving now.
Yeah.
And they don't know how to handle it. You know, when we were kids, deep snow came early and left late, and it's just something you dealt with every day. So little different scenario.
Yeah, I remember the bus driver getting stuck and he had all us kids jump off and help push the bus.
Absolutely. I remember those too.
You don't
Yep.
do that.
Very good.
Yeah.
Anything
all I
else?
have.
Thanks, Paul.
Anything
Yep,
else
that's all
from
I have.
Paul?
No, good.
Thanks,
Thank you.
Paul.
At least we got insurance, right?
Yes.
Not for the school
Let's
bus.
got agents.
Rick was in earlier and I don't think he is here right now,
So I'm
so
outside doing some work
Yeah.
out there. They'll do good.
we're gonna move on to Megan.
I'm gonna help explain why Megan is here. You all signed the executive order number 1, making that code red on January 26th, but we didn't take action on it in the meeting, so we need to approve that code red that you've already signed, which was executive order number 1, declaring a code red on January 26th. That's the first thing that needs done officially in the meeting. And then the second one, Megan is going to issue a rescission of executive order number 1, which only Steve will sign. This
Yeah.
all started back when John August was here. Where the state, there's the Indiana code on it, that this has to be done. So we have to have it in the minutes.
Yeah, move, for the minutes, for the record, that we approve the first, item that you were discussing, Tony.
Okay, the establishment of the emergency order. Okay, that motion passes. Motion by Doug, seconded by Stan. So now let's take the next step. Now,
Rescission of it.
Yep, and now I wanna go ahead and rescind it, cause the disaster declaration is only good for 7 days. So, and hopefully we don't have to do any more.
And that's all kind of
Yeah.
written on here as far as the code that, if you want to see it, but it really only requires approval and the signing by Steve.
I'm okay with Steve's signature on that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Motion.
so is that a motion, Doug?
Yeah, I'll make it.
Okay,
Second.
motion by Doug, seconded by Stan to rescind that emergency order. We decide.
And then I'll send a copy to you as well, once I get
That's submitted to
upstairs.
state.
I don't know if we need also to officially do an appointment and sign the form for Megan as director of EMA. You all approved her back in November, but we did not have an appointment form signed, which Clayton has today. Maybe with her already up here, if you want Clayton to go ahead and
You
bring
okay
that
with
up,
that,
we can do
Stan?
that now.
I'll make a motion, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that I don't know if you make a motion to sign it or an official motion
We've
for
got
her
up to Clayton
appointment
on
as
how he needs to
EMA
order it.
director.
I would just make a formal motion to appoint Megan as the EMA director. And then obviously approve the certificate of appointment that I'll have you all sign.
I'll second that motion.
Motion passes.
One other thing I wanted to just let you guys know that we are still under travel advisory at the moment. There's only within the state that's still 2 counties that are orange. Everyone else is either not under a travel advisory or still yellow. And then I also wanted to bring it to your guys' attention, since I know we're working on a county app, that the travel advisory app the state currently has is going to be going away in a few months.
Okay.
They are working on trying to get another app themselves, but they're trying to find funding for it, so hopefully we'll be able to get ours active and going before then.
I was gonna say, how close are we?
So I believe we're around 11 departments that's gonna have a part of this app. And I've heard back from 3 departments that we've gotten theirs to the way that they want it. We're making adjustments to get it.
So it is in development.
It is still in development.
I've talked to a couple of employers
Mhm.
that were kind of in that. Do we, don't we go to work? What's the status?
Yeah.
And I've talked to them about how helpful I think our app solution is gonna be once we get that deployed, and how that's gonna take a lot of that kind of guesswork out of, are we code red? Are we code orange? When are we gonna make the change? When are we gonna look at it again? We'll have a much better way to communicate with our residents, and by default, our employers, what our thinking is as it relates to road conditions and those kind of
Yeah, we'll be able
emergency
to send
situations.
road conditions, because the highway's gonna be a part of that
Right,
app as well. Send road conditions and then travel advisories out to the public. Cause I know an issue this time was the travel advisory app wasn't updating itself, so it was saying we were orange when we were red, or red when we were orange, or orange when we were yellow. And hopefully this app will help.
Will the commissioners be a part of that?
Yes. So we're gonna have commissioners and council. They're gonna have a page
have
together.
one page, yeah.
And then people will be able to click on your guys' to see when meetings are, or meeting minutes on there as well.
Good. Good. I
That's all
know
I
that's exciting. We're not quite there yet,
Not there, but-
but we're
Yeah.
moving closer.
Yes.
Okay.
It's definitely exciting to see it all come together.
Yeah. And as we were going through this process, I kept thinking, gosh, I just wish we had the app ready.
Thank you.
Yeah,
It's-
exactly.
We could have been so much more. And again, it's all about communication. It's
It
about
is.
being able to communicate with the public, with our residents and
Yeah.
what our thinking is, what our status is. So,
Yeah, and that's one thing I was trying to include too, whenever I was sending out those emails, is I was sending a separate one to just the schools and superintendents, so they were aware of everything that was going on too.
good work. Thanks again for your
Thank you.
work. And again, I think we've got a great team when we get into that those situations where we need to be thinking about travel advisories and we were in a code red for a while, but again, that's a pretty severe declaration when we do that, and we only want to do that when everybody agrees we need to, and only as long as we need to.
Yep.
So I appreciate, I know I was involved in those discussions and working with Highway and working with Sheriff's Department and working with you and your team, just really is a great team. And I think we ended up with the right call at the right time. Could we have communicated it better? We'll do better.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you.
How you getting along with your assistant?
Good. She's enjoying her time off for the days that she doesn't work.
Good.
Yeah.
Very good.
Well,
Moving on to the county attorney, Mark or Clayton. Clayton, what have you got for us?
So today I have two of the abatement agreements. One is simply named abatement agreement. Because this property owner, so it was in reference to lot 41 out there on Paradise Lane, came and agreed to sign this prior to the initiation of an enforcement action. The second one is, and you guys have seen both types, is an abatement agreement and stipulation for entry of agreed judgment upon breach, which is basically simply an agreement and a simple or a separate safeguard stating that in the case of a breach of said abatement agreement, given that there is a pending at a minimum small claims lawsuit on file, that the property owner, and this one would be in reference to lot 11, is agreeing that if they were to breach, that the county's empowered to simply file an agreed judgment and enforce that judgment like any judgment for the court. So I have two of those signed, well, each of those are signed by the relevant property owners. So I would just request a motion to approve the agreements, and then I'll have Steve sign on behalf of the
I would
county.
certainly make that motion.
I have seconded.
Perfect. And then just as an update, so the remainder, or many of those enforcement actions, at least from a small claim standpoint, their initial hearing is this afternoon, so I'll attend all of those. I will say though, that it has been very good. A lot of those property owners now, a heavy majority of them have reached out to me. Many more, I can tell from my emails from the office, are reaching out today, knowing that the hearing is coming forward. So my inclination is that many more of these agreements will be entered into here in the coming days, and I'll provide them for you all for
Are you
approval.
doing that like the hearing this afternoon? Is it on an individual basis or is it more like a class action?
So how I tailored them was if an individual only owned one lot, obviously pursuant to the nuisance ordinance, in reality, the fines are technically $100 per day for every day they remain non-compliant after the initial notice of violation, the time period, the initial notice of violation. To some extent, understanding that the small claims cap in Indiana is $10,000, so the county would be waiving, given that those notice of violations were issued back in May, would be waiving the ability to get some of those fines, but understanding that that's not the point of this for the county, and I think you would all agree, the point is to get abatement. So if they only owned one lot, I initiated them all in the small claims context. Any of the properties or property owners that owned more than one lot, I initiated in the circuit court, so that removes the cap, correct. I thought that prudent simply because again, it removes the cap and therefore, makes it very meaningful for those individuals to be required to get in touch with me because that fine amount would be obviously rather large.
So this afternoon we'll be in Superior Court?
Yes, it'll be in Superior Court. It is in the small claims context. So generally in a small claims context, this initial hearing will not actually be in front of a judge. It'll simply be a hallway hearing. So again, many of the property owners have reached out to me. I'm assuming if some of the property owners who have not reached out to me attend and appear at the hallway hearing as they're supposed to do, it still is a required appearance. I can discuss with them their willingness to enter into a similar agreement. So
This is by and large the most progress I have heard.
Yeah.
well, and yeah, I'm makes me happy that you all are happy, but I don't disagree that it's actually, and per those agreements, generally all of the property owners have been, for instance, I can look at the specific, I think the cure date for instance, this one, the compliance deadline, is 5 PM on May 30th. And the compliance deadline for the other one is July 15th, 5 PM on July 15th. And to be honest, and I know you all provided me with the flexibility to kind of discuss those. I'm not planning on going much further ever, or if ever, past that July 15th date. But when it's certain types of nuisances that not only take a lot of time for the property owner to abate, but also could take them a little bit of their own funding. For instance, obviously, if you have a plethora of tires, you have to get them to the transfer station. You then have to pay the transfer station to take those tires. So
Is there any offer of coordination and cooperation with the solid waste district?
I haven't reached out to them yet. I think I'm going to reach out to them. There's a one property owner that owns multiple properties that our office is in discussion about a similar agreement. And I think in order to, I guess the word isn't necessarily entice, but to make compliance by a good date feasible, I think I'm willing, if you all would provide me with the authority, I'll take up the mantle and talk to the transfer station of, in order to get this abated quickly or more quickly.
I know several years ago, I brought something up to solid waste and it seemed like the board was agreeable to work something out.
And I would believe that they would at least be amenable to some type of a hefty discount and, given that it's abating a nuisance in the county. So, again, I'll reach out to that after I've continued conversations with that property owner. But nothing else unless you guys have any specific questions.
Well, thanks for your work on
Again,
that.
yeah,
Larry.
great progress
Right.
there, and it's just tough when we tie into one of these things. It just takes a while. So, anything else for Clayton, guys?
I don't.
Okay. Shannon, what have you got for us?
I just have one thing today. So every year we sign what's called an administrative services agreement with Allied, who is our third-party administrator for the health insurance plan. It outlines the administrative fees that they charge us year over year just for their services. It obviously doesn't include stop loss, it doesn't include RX claims, medical claims, things like that. So I sent it over to Mark Clayton last week and they
looked over it and are good with it. I also compared it to the proposal that they submitted to us in October, and the figures matched, so they didn't change anything from what we originally agreed to last year. So I just need this officially approved and signed by Steve.
Your, the fees have changed or not changed, or the
Correct.
price we pay, what we pay them?
The price that we pay them has changed a little bit, which is normal. It changes a little bit year over year.
Okay.
So the biggest change was the installation fee for the PDM for going to Northwind, and that was the agreement that we had with both Allied and Northwind. So that's on here, but that's gonna be addressed separately. This is like their individual fee for actual medical administration, $13.67 PEPM, Allied Digital, PBM coordination fee, their PPO coordination fee, like things like that. So it's the actual administrative fees, not stop loss contract, not medical claims, not RX claims, things like that.
Must be working out. We've had a credit every week.
Now,
Yeah.
so if you're looking for a motion in this regard, I'll make it.
Second.
Okay, motion passes.
I'll just have you sign it.
Okay.
I'd be happy with credits the rest of the year.
Yeah, just manage that. That'd be great. Okay.
Yeah, I think they've been a good company to work with so that we can remain self-insured and still
Yeah,
control our potential.
obviously it's a big, big expense. We need to do our very best to manage that expense down, and I think we are. Okay. Ready for insurance? Yeah, ready for insurance. Come on up, guys.
Appreciate you
Good
guys
morning.
coming. Morning. Thanks for having us in such short notice.
Yeah.
Yep. Try and make this as short and sweet as possible for you.
Well,
Appreciate
as long as you paid the entrance fee, they did pay the entrance fee.
Yeah, it was out of the front door. I think we pay the entrance. Do you want one of these? Glenn?
Thank you.
Vixar Insurance.
I'm gonna start with the work comp here, and then I'll turn everything over to Dustin on the
Thank you.
property.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's see, so the work comp, we always base. You're fairly new to this, Doug, so we always base the work comp renewal off of the previous year's audited payroll figures. So those could change, but, so they do change every year. So the premium is up a little bit from last year. Last year, we were at, really quick. Last year's renewal premium was at $100,446. And that was based off of a payroll of $9,451,591 total payroll. This year, the estimated cost is at $105,489. And that is based off of the payroll of $10,261,751. So the main driver of that is just the increase. in
So they're
payroll.
directly proportional.
Yeah, so the increase in premium is just basically off of the increase in payroll, so. One good thing was the experience mod from last year was 1.03. This year it's down to 0.93. So that's a good trend we're seeing with the
Good.
claims. So that's always good when it gets down below. So that's a good trend, so. Do you have any questions?
No, that sounds like it's pretty
Makes sense to me.
good relation.
We need to,
So, I guess one thing, like say if we have a large claim this year, does that affect our premiums directly or does that get factored into the follow?
It would get factored in. The experience mod is based off of the previous 3-year running total is what it's based off. So it's always a year behind.
I see.
So the large claim this year probably wouldn't hit until like 2020, probably 2028.
But claims will affect
Mhm.
premiums.
Yep.
Okay.
And they take into consideration too, if it's a cat loss, if it's something that's a great big loss, that gets all factored into that experience mod too, so. So it does always trail.
Whereas like if we keep having employees fall down the steps, we better put a handrail.
That is correct.
Very good. Do we need a motion to approve that?
You're approving the workers' copies
Yeah,
from the last.
workers' comp, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Need a motion on the Eastern Alliance workers' comp proposal, guys?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Doug, second by Stan to approve that proposal. Great, motion passes.
Steve, did you find this thing last year?
Okay.
This is just the deductible reimbursement agreement.
I think we have to give credit to our attorneys. They're always the lowest risk rate of anyone. You know, they don't get a lot of credit, so.
Then I'll get you.
Thank you so much, Stan.
Yeah.
Get a copy back of the company sign too. Just want me to send that to you again. Thank you, sir.
All right, Dustin, you're up.
The other packet that you have talks about the property and liability policies, so first page there, we just put some notes. There's been a lot of changes in the last 3 or 4 years with these policies, so I just wanted to touch base and kind of recap where we've been to where we are now. So in 2023, the policies were all still with Star, and they moved them from Travelers to Liberty Mutual, which saved about $90,000. Then in 2024,
But we had to pay to do that though, right? Then we have to pay a certain upfront fee to.
That's the next move
Yep,
he's gotta
that's
talk
coming
about.
up.
Oh,
Yeah, that's coming up.
okay, sorry,
Yeah, you remember though, yep.
sorry.
In 2024, then you guys named Bixler Insurance the agent of record on the policies. And the Liberty Mutual at their first renewal increased the premium 35%. So we moved the property coverage from Liberty to Cincinnati, and we got better pricing and better coverage. And the Cincinnati policy is actually on a 3-year rate guarantee. So that's point number 2 there. And then point number 3 is last year, Liberty Mutual increased the auto and the liability another 20%. So Bixler Insurance moved all those policies to Bliss McKnight. So that's when we brought the Bliss McKnight guys in, and they met with all the different departments, gathered a bunch of information, and really wanted to partner with Adams County. At that point, we saved $90,000, and you guys were kind of wondering, okay, we've been through this roller coaster of our premium was here, now it's here, now it's going up. You know, we hope that's not going to continue. And this is the first renewal where we're actually keeping all the policies with the same companies. And the total premium's up about 5%. So that is where we would like it to be, and hopefully it will continue to be going forward. Now you're gonna end up paying $10,000 less in total premium because of what Stan was just talking about. So I'll get down to that below there. So the highlighted section, the total annual premium was $482,000 for all the policies last year. But then you had to pay $70,000 for prior acts coverage. Because when we switched from Liberty to Bliss McKnight, the coverage was different. So we had to buy a couple years of prior acts coverage. And you guys decided to split that cost into 2 years. So they charged you 2/3 of that premium last year and 1/3 of it this year, which is the $34,000 that's listed down below. So in total, last year you paid $552. And in total this year, it's gonna be $542. But the rate is up about 5%, which is the highlighted sections. Does that make sense?
Yep.
It's
So
not
then
really-
that
it's not really fair.
34,000 goes away then
Yep,
next year,
then next
right?
year that'll go away. So if there's another, 5% increase, you'll probably
See another
be at
decline again.
530 or so next year. Right. And then it'll just be hopefully continuing year
increases.
over year. Yeah. So it's not really fair to say the premium is down $10,000. We just want to be transparent, like the
Good.
rate is up a little, but overall you're paying less,
Well,
if that makes sense.
and obviously the win there is, even though with a 5% increase, we've stabilized that and hopefully we're gonna see that
Yeah,
going forward.
exactly.
That was one of the big selling points of going to Bliss McKnight, I think,
Yeah.
was we were looking to get away from those buy the business type of strategy and then jab it to you in years after the business was
Exactly.
acquired.
Stabilize things a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're good through 27?
These policies will go from,
We got the 3-year
Till
guarantee.
2027.
We're good.
yeah, with Cincinnati, that policy was from 2024 to 2027. That rate was locked in. And so next year that will renew for another 3 years. And then the other policies are annual policies that these premiums are good now.
So if
for
we
this
had
year.
if our current provider would have significant raises or increases like Star did, and we had to switch again, would we go through this liability prior act coverage again?
I don't know. Because Bliss McKnight is covering that on an occurrence basis, where Liberty Mutual is covering it on a claims made basis. So some carriers do handle it differently. I don't think that would be the case, but
It feels to me like the situation we're under now is probably the one that is the most, that if we would change back to that,
If you change back to the claims.
back to the
Yeah.
claims made basis, there would actually potentially be a
there
credit
wouldn't be
there.
a fee.
Yeah, we wouldn't, because the new company would actually be incurring less
Risk.
Risk.
You could say.
than what Bliss McKnight currently is in that,
Yeah.
whatever it is, the claims occurred basis.
Yeah.
I think the way we
Correct,
did that was Mark Burry's strong suggestion that we do it that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and it, my question is, when you're a major customer with the size we are, and we're not huge, but a major customer, you might say. Why would a company raise fees significantly and lose business like this?
You talking about Star?
Yeah,
Liberty Mutual.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
Liberty Mutual.
right. I mean, it don't make sense to me. I mean, unless we had some huge claims that,
Yeah, and that wasn't the case.
that wasn't the case.
The insurance market over the last, and it's starting to stabilize a little bit now. The insurance market, whenever there was all the inflation and everything that was driving the insurance rates over the last 3 or 4 years, that's when we really saw the spikes. And you've probably seen it in your home and auto stuff as well. That's starting to stabilize now. And it was just getting hit with those, with all those rate increases. And county and government entities are a lot harder to place with companies. So, if you've got 5 companies that'll do them, it's kind of, they can raise those rates as they see fit. And
Doesn't Bliss
get the rate.
McKnight kind of specialize in
Yeah,
government?
yeah, and Bliss specializes in the county.
Stan might remember Liberty Mutual. I think Stan might have been the only commissioner that was on at that time. Came in with a very low offer to kind of get their foot in the door. And was so low that we did it, but then we got that massive increase after that. That's what prompted the whole, or Steve might have been on. But that's when we began to look for a broker of record to help guide us through all of this stuff, so that Mark Burry and I didn't have to spend hours and hours and hours in his office going through everything. But that's kind of how we ended up where we're currently at. Bliss McKnight came in with a better offer that we went with, and I think Steve has mentioned that at some point down the line, we'll kind of take a fresh look at everything else again.
Yeah, and that's
Just-
that's what you basically hired us to do, is to keep an eye on that. So
Yeah.
if we see Bliss taking seeing that with the way the market's stabilizing a little bit, if we see them take a 20 or 30% jump next year on their renewal numbers, obviously that's going to prompt us to to shop it internally and see what else is out there again, so. So that it, again, avoids Tony and Mark spending all those hours doing it, but
Right.
that's what
I
you're, that's what you
appreciate
got us
that.
for, so.
Historically, that's not their MO.
Yeah.
We mentioned this to you guys last year, but we've written Jay County with Bliss McKnight for 30 years. And it's been a really good partnership. Our Portland office handles that. But that's what we're hoping is the case here. And they provide a lot of free resources that Liberty Mutual is providing to different departments to utilize. So you guys are from the work comp being with Eastern to Bliss handling the liability, to Cincinnati handling the property, and Travelers is on the side. There's a lot of different companies, but we're finally to the point where we feel you're with the best company you could be with each of those particular areas. So hopefully it'll be pretty
Just out of
stable.
curiosity, where's the home office on Bliss?
Illinois.
Illinois.
So you just need a motion for the renewal offer from them today? Is
Yes.
that what we're looking for?
One question that we did have, on the next page, there's some notes that we already discussed, but on Golden Meadows, we still have that building and contents in that building insured on the Cincinnati property policy. Is that still your guys' desire to keep that insured at this point? The premium is about $5,000 a year, and we have it insured for 5.3 million on the building and $500,000 in contents.
I think we should limit that to liability only.
Yeah, I
Oh,
agree.
yeah, I was gonna mention
Let's-
liability
Let's
is
just,
important,
just take the property coverage off of
Okay,
that.
that's what we were wondering.
but we got the liability coverage. in
Yeah,
case
Bliss,
someone-
that's on the Bliss McKnight policy.
Okay,
That's included in that, but I know things have still been in discussion with that
Sure.
location, so we just want to.
Yeah, let's take the property coverage off of
Okay,
that.
okay.
Good question. That's the reason we pay you guys the big bucks. Ask those tough questions.
and act on them.
Hey, that's why we're here. The last page, we're not gonna go through in detail, but that just breaks down like each policy and kind of what all's covered, hits some of the high points.
How would you look at, you know, obviously, we're looking at a construction project. And that construction project may and very well possibly be this building. How would you write that? Would you write it as a construction policy, a remodel policy? Would you write it as a different type of risk?
Like renovating this building.
Right.
We'd have to talk to Cincinnati about that. There are builders risk policies that you can buy or coverage you can buy for a new building while it's under construction, depending on the extent of the renovations. Cincinnati, something else, I'm sure on your existing
This would be
property policy.
extensive.
Yeah, we could work something out.
Oh,
Policy.
yeah, if, as this moves ahead, we
Yeah.
may have to be talking to you about
Yeah,
how that looks.
Usually
So
it's
just so
just-
you're aware. of
yeah,
that.
that's good to know. It's usually just a temporary coverage while it's not occupied. Cover the renovations and what else is invested in it, and once it's occupied again, it goes back to a different.
Well, it probably
Type of
not, it
coverage.
would not be unoccupied, it'd
Okay.
be,
If it's occupied during it, then that'd be
right,
easier for
Yeah.
us. Do you agree with that?
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Sometimes depending on the contract, sometimes the contractors will provide that builder's risk coverage as well. So that would
And
be something.
and it might be
asked
it
about
might be
that.
a moving target, you know, when the renovation is 1/3 completed. It's not gonna be the same value as when it's 100% completed,
Right, yeah. Yeah, so we could just adjust it
right?
throughout if we need to.
Yeah.
That's a good question.
Good.
You
So
guys-
we need a motion to approve this renewal policy, guys.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Doug, seconded by Stan. Renewal policy is
Commissioners can
approved.
help me remember at budget time. It might be a good idea on that line where you pay these insurances to up it by at least 5%. To make sure that we have it in the budget.
Yeah.
Well, we appreciate you guys, staying on top of things with Tony and our attorneys.
Doug,
Appreciate you.
Yeah.
Yeah, if the project moves ahead, as we put a budget together, that's gonna have to be part of the budget. Is
Doug,
any increase?
Doug, for your information, we went through a process 2 years ago, I guess now, where we actually did a request for proposal for insurance, for local insurance agents to become our agent of record and handle all of our insurance work for us. And we interviewed, I think, all of the local, at least 3 local insurance brokers. These guys were awarded that relationship, that contract. And so now, so that first step was to identify who was going to represent us in the market. So we've identified Bixler's as our representative in the insurance market. So now they represent us and go forward, try to make sure we're getting the best bang for our buck. So we went kind of through a 2-step process of hiring these guys first and then asking them to shop the market for us. So that's, so, and I don't know that we're gonna see a need to do that, go to that process again in the near future, but just, that's how we approached that a couple years ago.
They're kind of our go-between with those agencies. Any department that has a question on insurance, highway, or whoever it is, well, they'll get with these guys, then they get with the guys they need to get with, they get us the answers.
It was Star prior to them, and as you're probably aware, Star kind of sold or left the market or we, and they did propose to retain the business, but we selected Bixler's as our.
And then
our agent.
just for my information, since I wasn't there at that time, is Bixler's then are representatives for, is this on a 4-year basis, 5-year basis,
We really didn't
a yearly
identify-
basis, or
we
how does
really
that?
did identify a term for
Okay.
that. We just selected
As long
them.
as they're doing a super job?
Yeah.
I thought it was for attorneys. That was my understanding. I think Matt would probably say.
That's what Matt tried
Yeah, I
to
think that was probably.
debate
Matt's
us
understanding
about.
as well, yeah.
Star is actually now the Hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I certainly appreciate you guys and keeping the people that you, on our front lines informed so that we eventually have to make the final cuts on this kind of stuff. We need the information to be able to do that.
We've tried to bring recommendations of things that maybe make sense to cover, it doesn't make sense to cover.
Well, just like the Golden Meadows
Yeah.
thing, that might have got biased for a
We
while.
don't want you paying for things you don't
Yeah.
need. We look at
Yeah.
the best interest of the county.
Okay, appreciate
Hey,
it.
Thank you.
thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for your work. We're gonna keep asking you to work hard for us though, because that's a big bill we
It
pay.
is. Yeah,
We need your help.
We will do it.
Okay.
Good deal.
Thank you.
Okay, see you, Doug.
Thank you.
Dustin, see you.
I'll get you that. When I get the back from the company,
Yep.
I'll forward it over
No
to you.
problem.
Okay.
Take care.
I think that's all I have on the agenda, guys. Oh, Sheriff would like to speak. Come on up.
All right, gentlemen, need your advice with the attorney's advice. You're aware of our boiler situation at the jail. Our 2 boilers are deteriorating probably a couple of years earlier than before on the design of the building. I had some of you out and I had 3 councilmen out after the last month's meeting. I do have a quote now. The problem is, this is where I need attorney's estimate. I know there's a bid process because the quote's in at $160,005 to replace both boilers. Normally, there's a bid process or you put something out. The problem is time constraint. If our boilers go down,
Are you, is one down and you're working on one, or what, is there a?
both, right now they're up, but we're waiting on parts. And when parts come in, one will go down and then I'm only be on one. So what
Are
I'm,
these boilers heating the whole building or hot water?
hot water through the whole building.
Hot water.
Yes.
But I mean, are they actually heating the building?
No, that's gas furnace, like, that's different.
Gotcha.
Yeah, this is strictly our hot water. By Board of Health, if I lose hot water, I can't keep inmates there.
They can't take cold showers?
No. So that is my problem. If we would lose both boilers, I have to move 73 people. So that is a problem. So I don't know if I'm using the terminology of emergency additional or something like that to where I don't have to go through the process, so I can use the vendors that are familiar with the building, that have been with the building since its inception, and go with this quote? Or do I have to go through the normal process? And I'm afraid the normal process is gonna take,
Well, I
Too
know, what was it, last year you put new water conditioning, services in the building, or was that the year before?
that's probably 3 years ago.
3 years ago.
Softener system.
So-
Did that help?
It has helped, but the
Can-
damage
I
was
think
already
this
done.
is damage
Can,
from.
can we use, I guess I'm trying to stay with the vendor idea. Since there's somebody that did the plumbing on that, would that be a reasoning to come back to them as a repeat vendor to bypass?
I don't know if that's reason or not, but they were part of the construction build. That's who my PMs are with. I mean, they are familiar, they're maintaining it. So
I can tell you, in the past, Mark has allowed a sole responsive bid. If there was really one company that has performed the work before, that could do it again. I'm trying to remember what that
I was
was.
gonna say, we've
Well,
done
that's
that
more of a,
before.
that's more of a, like,
When there's only one possible vendor.
yeah, when it's, so,
well, like for our Flex, our CAD system, that was the only vendor there
Right,
was that
right.
did that. So
This-
that, I know
this-
was done then.
This feels to me something like we ought to go to bid. If you were telling me we were on one boiler was not repairable and you were down to one and they were having trouble with that one, but when we've got two, they're both repairable. Ultimately, we want to replace both of them. Feels to me like though that we have time here to do it the right way. And I always want to do it the right way when we have time to do that. And we may save us some big money. I mean, I don't know. My preference would be if we could bid it out, and I don't know who puts the bid specs together.
I don't have the knowledge to do that.
I know.
I would bet Rick can help you because he did the same thing down here.
It feels to me like that we need to take the time to do this the right way. With a $100,000,
$160.
$160,000 bill we're gonna pay with taxpayer dollars, I'd like to know we're getting the biggest bang for our buck, and without living up to that bid process, I don't think we're gonna know that.
And then you mentioned parts coming in.
We were down, they got it up and running. We're gonna continue to have problems that they need replaced.
Yeah.
So I understand your point.
I
And
agree,
my-
let's get them replaced.
My
but let's-
contingent with that is, if they do go down and I move people, we're gonna have a bill.
But you have to lose them both,
Correct.
and they are both,
Operational as of
Operational.
today.
so that, I feel like we've got enough time there to do it right.
Yeah, I should say, the vendor you're working with or the repair people you're working with, did they basically convey to you that, hey, these boilers are basically need replaced, or who came up with that decision?
Well, we've been having so many repairs on them, things going down. And if you open up, that's why I invited you gentlemen to come out
Yeah.
to look at it last month. And you open up and they're corroded because,
All right,
because of the
okay.
system, when one is running, one is idle. Well, when that one's idle, the downdraft coming from the exhaust comes in, blows the air through. There's a acidic pool of water inside the machine that when that air, it pushes that out and then just into the room. Well, that's a closed cabinet boiler system, so it fills the inside of that with corrosive fumes. It's just the makeup of the design of the machine. And then that has corroded the inside of those machines, and that's why we're having all the problems. And the only way to fix it is to replace them where that system is not used. And they came up with a solution for that. And so, yes, that's why I'm.
So the 160 not only covers the boilers, it covers, quote, the system also.
I don't understand your question.
Well, something caused the corroding. It wasn't the boilers that caused the corroding.
The design of the boilers causes the corrosion.
Okay,
Yes.
okay,
Yes,
so,
because you cannot You cannot, what do they call, you can't put a flapper valve in the exhaust piping.
Well,
That's the code, you can't do that. So when you can't do that, the design of the system, it sucks that air down in because the building design is tight. It creates a vacuum in that boiler room. And we tried to help that design, but we just can't override the design of the building.
so if we go through with the quotes, we get a quote, you take the lowest, least, most responsible, all that. Okay, let's just throw a figure, 150,000 is what it needs. Okay, is Cume Jail, Tony, available?
Yes, we have 3.2 million dollars in Cume Jail.
So
I've
that
got all
fund
covered.
is available and can be used for that.
Used for that.
Yes,
Okay.
and 3 or 4 of the councilmen were there, and they also agreed that's probably the best use of funds, if not taken out of county general, but they agreed that the fund is there for this reason.
That's
with this
exactly what
major-
that fund is.
Yes,
Okay,
so-
well, then I agree with Steve. Let's move forward on whatever
And
the attorneys
I
have.
I don't know how to tell you to get, whether you need to engage with
Specs.
with a consultant
That's what I'm here. I need advice.
or, start with Rick. I think Doug's got a good point. Start with Rick and see if.
Did Rick do all that when they did the boiler and the cooler stuff himself, or did he have a consultant?
He had Havel at the time. They've since changed their name to the Dilling Group or something.
Yeah,
It's dealing.
That's, the Dilling Group has done some of that work.
they may be boiler, but.
Are they,
System
is that what they do,
experts.
is consultant to set up like specs and
No,
stuff?
there was a separate consultant that he used.
I would just ask him. I know I've reviewed the contract.
Okay.
It was,
I don't know how many companies.
it was kind of like consultant
Do
in
it.
contemplation of doing the work, but I'm sure.
You know,
they could
obviously,
do a
we don't wanna
separate
pay
bill
somebody
just-
$50,000 to consult on $160,000 project, so those are, we still have to figure that out,
Okay.
but I certainly would like to have some competing bids to fix it, to
Okay.
get it right.
Is there a timeframe that I have to post? How long they have to respond? Is there, do I have to put bids out and have them open for 2 weeks, 14 days, or can I limit that?
Like how quickly they have to have bids back
Correct,
prior to you opening them, like here at a meeting?
correct.
Generally, how long does the highway do it?
We do, if we post it in the paper, we give them 14 days, that they have to have bids back. And then we open them here, review them, and then award them the following week. So basically, you're looking at a full month, start to finish in the process. If you would drop it,
Once I get the
if you
specs.
drop it this week, you would.
Once you get the specs, it generally is, I think, you don't really wanna change, you don't wanna make it less than the 14-day to get bids back, then you have to open them here, take them under advisement, come back the next week to offer up what you believe should be accepted.
Does he have to develop a spec sheet or fairly vague to where you say, we are looking for, quotes to replace the hot water boiling system?
I mean, I would assume you'll need specs because, you're
You gotta
kind of,
compare apples to apples.
you're operating at your own peril if you don't provide a specific enough specs, because then you could possibly, be comparing apples to oranges on the bid.
But if you've got one bid, you could use that bid as your specs so that you compare apples to apples.
Yes.
But that would only be bidding that manufacturer, or?
Well, but there would be the specifications in there,
Oh,
so
the
many
size of it.
BTU size
Gotcha,
and whatnot.
gotcha.
Size or
And
type of system.
multiple, so you can, obviously you wanna have two systems, so if one goes down, you've got a backup, and could be able to use their specifications, not their probably not their manufacturer.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think you
Rick
get
can
the
help
right
you out.
professional people,
And I
they'll
think,
walk you right through it.
sadly, because I understand your position on it, Sheriff, because it could lead to a very emergent situation, but I think pursuant to actually the statute's language for the purchasing, it sadly, and Steve and the way the commissioners want to handle it is correct, because it wouldn't yet fall.
If I had
as-
one
as
down
an
now.
If you had
it's
one
not
you had
down,
one down
and not fixable.
If you had one not
Yeah.
fixable and that contract said this thing could take a crap tomorrow, different.
Gotcha.
But
Clayton,
it's
isn't-
more,
isn't
you've
the-
identified it is end of life, but it has the possibility of staying on until you get this done.
Doesn't the dollar amount determine the number of bids you need?
I've got the ordinance right.
And then dollar amount determines quote versus bid. And so if it's 160, it's bid,
The 50,000 to 150,000
quote.
shall obtain 3 quotes and present to the commissioners. Over 150,000, you shall solicit sealed bids in the manner specified by this Indiana code, inserting the invitation of quotes and competitive bidding. Then the commissioners look at that, so it's a little less if it's 150,000 or under.
Yep.
It's a little more if it's
Yep.
160.
And that reflects state purchasing law.
Yep.
Yeah.
So those numbers are where your breaks are.
Yeah, we didn't change those.
I will get with him and move forward.
Okay,
Perfect, thanks, guys.
okay.
Hey, Dan, one question. What might be the lifespan of a new boiler? 3 years, 5 years? 8 years?
No, they're hoping to get 10 years about, and.
How old
these-
ones you got? How many years?
About 7 right now. So we're a couple of years earlier, but it's just due to the design of it, they're corroding from the inside out.
Bad water has got that corroded everything.
Well, like I said, this really isn't the water issue, it's the exhaust design of and how tight the building is.
Okay.
So when that one is idle, the other one's running, well, it's sucking air from inside that building, well, it's sucking so much air, it's actually sucking air in from the idle vent tube
Okay.
through the machine, which picks up the caustic fumes and then puts it into the closed cabinet. And the inside of our cabinets are orange.
So,
I mean-
so you're gonna have to have.
A
you're gonna have to-
different design.
The project is not only to replace 2 boilers, but to redesign the
Well,
air
the-
intake system.
it's the design of the boiler, how that particular boiler that was chosen with, now that we know how the building's so tight, you can't have that
Can't have
same
that same
design. And the one that we do have is a different design that doesn't have that issue.
Yeah,
So,
Very good.
but I'll get working on it.
Thank you.
Thank
Okay,
you.
thanks.
Anything from the public? Anything else we need to be thinking about? Guys, anything else for the good of the order?
I don't,
We had, legislative committee last week for ICC and just a lot of bills in flux as far as what they're gonna do with lit, what they're gonna do with townships. Local control on residential, zoning policies. So keep your ear to the ground, but, right now our lobbyists are really talking to the legislators.
Good. Yeah, I see a lot, for a short session, a lot of balls in the air.
and if some of those questions that might get answered, okay, Matt and Travis is coming in on, the 14th. I think 8 o'clock in Bluffton, 10 o'clock here. So,
They recently spoke at Farm Bureau, I think.
what's that?
They spoke at
I
Farm
saw
Bureau
Stan's
recently.
picture there, so you must have been at that Farm Bureau meeting.
No, unless.
You weren't there?
Unless they used an old picture.
I thought maybe it was you.
That was an old stock picture. of
Oh,
Stan.
my, it was Justice, so it might, he's known to do that.
Yeah.
Very good.
Unless it
Okay.
was some other good looking guy.
That's,
Okay, I'm, nothing else, I move we adjourn.
okay.
Second.
Motion carries, we're adjourned.
They just think he was good looking.